Well, you all had so much to say about the digital ID, and before I dive into why this is such a bad thing and what to do if you are being forced to provide data and information that you are just not happy with, I want to say, first of all, thank you so much for supporting me, supporting our community, supporting the Justice Journals channel. And you can go a little bit further with that because I have now started a petition against the unlawful actions and harassment against people with disabilities in particular, and I would love your support by signing that free petition. I have over 100,000 followers between TikTok and this channel, and I only need 10,000 to get something done about what is going on right now with disabled people. I'm going to leave that link down below, and I will be forever grateful for you doing so. Thank you in advance. Now, let's just go through some of these comments before I pull out the corker, which is literally going to open the can of worms. So, Melanie says, I've had to supply bank statements again, and they say it's going to be every 6 months. We have to supply them. I've been asking on my journal for a week, and they haven't looked at it once and responded to me. I have to say, Melanie, if you're on Universal Credit and that's your Universal Credit journal, they should be, if they're following their own guidance, apply within 3 days. But know that the DWP's guidance is not the same as the legal law. Big difference. DWP don't want you to know that, but that's the facts. Martine, they also wanted proof of closed bank accounts. Interesting. I'll let you know what to do about that. And Rob Spencer, this has happened to me twice. They won't accept an account summary, which tells them everything they need, but nope, full statements. It's disgraceful. So, of course, we are talking about the new digital Big Brother. And if you didn't know what I'm talking about and you haven't joined the 70,000 people that have watched this video, then you want to go ahead and watch it, where I break down DWP's latest bill, which is the Fraud, Recovery and Debt Bill. And that gives them insane powers to not just look into your information, but to retain it, quite possibly for an unreasonable, in my opinion, amount of time. Before we dive into this, you might be thinking, why am I so interested in all of this? And why am I sharing all of my golden government nuggets with you? And the answer to that is this. I used to work for the Department of Work and Pensions before I whistle blew on them internally, and then I also at the same time sued them single-handedly for disability discrimination and unlawful harassment in the workplace, for raising a grievance against them because guess what? They did not follow their own policies and their own guidance for disabled people in the workplace. This is me standing outside court on my final day. Now, why my case is an absolute landmark into why the digital ID and all the powers that come with it are literally, wow, a big important chapter in the danger zone world of education. Well, let's just get into it. And then you can think about your own life and see how could they possibly twist all of this digital ID information against you. Conspiracy theorist? Not really. Quite frank, direct and to the point, because at the end of the day, data never lies, but it depends on what you do with that data. So let's get into it. Prior to working very briefly for the Department of Work and Pensions, I used to run a children's language company which I created, and on the back of that I started helping other people start their own businesses, so much so that I wrote this book here. But as you can see, I did it in 2018, and as you can see there, it's currently unavailable. And if you go and watch the video that I pointed to you to earlier, and then you follow it up with this post here, which I will leave all linked down below, you will see that when it comes to intelligence gathering, which is a term used in DWP's recent bill, that intelligence gathering can have an awful lot to do with unlawful and illegal behaviour. And it isn't necessarily that you've done anything that you shouldn't have done, but it's more about what they haven't done and they should have done. So, to the people like Julie Mitchell who might think some of this content is scaremongering, I have nothing to hide, why should I worry? You might want to watch this all the way through, because as I said, it's not about what you've done, it's about what they haven't done that often takes a little bit of a turn to the amount of intelligence and data that they're gathering. And let me use my own case as an example of how critical not signing or not agreeing to digital ID is. This book, as you can see, is something I wrote in 2018. There's nothing weird or wonderful, unfortunately, about this book. However, this book, in fact, the screenshot of this book was used to suspend me on the 16th of August for my full-time employment. This was the only evidence that was produced, and as you can see, it says currently unavailable. Currently unavailable means it's not in print. Here's a little screenshot from my self-publishing platform on Amazon. As you can see, it was unpublished on Kindle in 2020, and it was unpublished in paperback also in 2020. I only started working for the Department of Work and Pensions in 2021. So I think we can all agree that the person that took the screenshot of my book saying that it was out of print and sending it to the HR department hadn't read the book either, because it hadn't been in print for a number of years. Why am I telling you this? Because not only did this out of print book lead to my immediate suspension just for being a book about self-employment, but what followed was an ambiguous piece of paper that just bore a whole load of names and numbers on. Again, does not have my name on it in any way whatsoever, and I'm going to show you this information in a moment, this data that's apparently collected by DWP and other organisations, because it was this same piece of paper that was actually used to fire me, and in my opinion unlawfully, and I will also go as far to say as criminally. And that, my friends, is why data intelligence and intelligence gathering, particularly from organisations like DWP, is a big red flag to your independence and to your freedom. And before I show you that, if you value your freedom, if you value honesty, integrity, and you value the opportunity of living in a culture and society where we live in a democratic community, then you might want to go ahead and sign my petition here, where I am requesting an immediate investigation and enforcement from the higher powers to stop disability discrimination in the workplace and to enforce an immediate investigation on employment tribunals and even appeal tribunals when it comes to treating disability discriminative claims. The details are down below. So here's a piece of evidence that DWP submitted in court. Just think this could be your evidence before I blow it up and show it to you. Now, the big panel, the peachy coloured panel like my top you can see, is where I have made a reduction. So that means I've blocked out the national insurance numbers because, of course, the Department of Work and Pensions forgot to do this on 300 different claims. Now, my big issue with this piece of evidence, which I am now going to blow up, as we can see, does not refer to me in any way whatsoever. It does not have my name on. It does not have my national insurance number on. It has no characteristic or identifier that identifies me as being the owner of this data. I think we can all agree with that. I think we can all agree that in fact it doesn't carry anybody's name, does it? It could belong to you, me, the person you're sitting next to right now. But in actual fact, this piece of data was used to, in my opinion, unlawfully and criminally fire me. Because I took action against the Department of Work and Pensions, and yes, I did win 2 out of 3 cases, the third one being them firing me. This is apparently data, and this is the type of thing that is going to happen to so many people. It's already happening, but it's going to happen to a lot more people. Data that you don't recognize as being your own is going to be, according to certain powers and certain organizations, it's going to be identified as yours, even though there's nothing on there that states that it's yours, and it's going to be used against you when those organizations want to profit or have an unfair advantage in a situation where perhaps they are legally failing or are not being legally compliant. Now, I've read a lot of the comments and you are all worrying about, them saying that you're not being compliant. By the way, here are some images again from my own evidence where we can clearly see a screenshot of me with metadata standing in the sea, and then we have a little snippet from a 30-minute video it was, but you're just seeing a little 1 minute and 5 second snippet from TikTok, which is what they do when you have a popular video. According to the Department of Work and Pensions, that's not me. That's not me standing in the sea. That was not me walking across the beach. And all of that information, according to the judge, is something that she doesn't believe. So let me lay this out to you very, very, very clearly. We have come into a time where data and information that is undeniably, quite obviously me, if we put them side by side, I think we can all agree that's me, perhaps on my better days. And this information here, apparently, that it does not seem to be identifiable as me in any way or mine in any way whatsoever, has been believed by the judge in an employment tribunal as being something that she believes. I think we have entered into some kind of a dystopian, insane, I don't quite know, belief culture, I think would perhaps be, something that I would use, because you either believe this or you don't. But at the end of the day, you cannot argue with data. It doesn't lie. But at the same time, in order for data to be accredited to you, it needs to be able to show some type of personal identifier. And as we can see in this case, there is none. However, it was used and it has been recorded as my data. And I have said this is not my data. I do not own this. And none of this information is, even plausible of a certain date and time, because we have this information here that clearly shows where I was on a certain date and time. So if you are like Julie Mitchell at the start of this video thinking it doesn't matter, I haven't done anything wrong, let this be a very good lesson for you, in that it's not about what you're doing is the issue. It's about what they are doing, or in this case, not doing, is the issue. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. And I say it again, the Department of Work and Pensions should be entirely diffused. It is a dishonest department. It operates in ways which are completely, in my opinion, unlawful. And I have big question marks over any judge or system that wants to support clearly, undeniably, questionable evidence and permitting it as being believable. And on that final note, if you want to be someone that makes a difference, if you want some of these systems to get the true shake up that they require, and if you want to try taking a little bit of your power and your privacy back, then please do sign my petition. It would mean a lot to me, and it would also mean a lot to the disabled people of the UK. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.